What was the galaxy's biggest mistake? Underestimating humanity. When alien empires threaten Earth and push humans too far, they uncover a secret military force hidden for 50 years.
Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the massive council chamber and felt very small. The room stretched upward for hundreds of meters, designed to hold thousands of alien representatives. Giant screens floated in the air, showing the faces of species from across the galaxy. Some had too many eyes. Others had none at all. Some breathed methane. Others lived in water tanks. But they all had one thing in common. They all looked down on humanity. "Your request is denied," said Council Speaker Vorthan. He was a Caltharian, with gray skin and forearms. His voice came through the translation device as cold and dismissive. "For the 37th time, humanity will not receive full council membership." Sarah kept her face calm, but her hands formed fists at her sides. 50 years. 50 years since humans first developed faster-than-light travel and met the galaxy. 50 years of being treated like children. May I ask why? Sarah said. She already knew the answer. She had heard it 36 times before. But she needed them to say it again. She needed it on record. "Your species is too young," Vorthan said. He sounded bored. "The youngest council member has been spacefaring for 8,000 years. Humanity has barely left its homeworld. You have what? 40 colonies. The Vraxian Empire alone controls 12,000 star systems." A rumble of agreement came from the assembled aliens. Sarah noticed the Vraxian delegation. They sat in a special section reserved for the most powerful species. Admiral Korthax, their chief military commander, stared at her with what passed for amusement among his people. His species looked like massive reptiles with scales that shimmered blue and silver. "We may be young," Sarah said carefully, "but we follow all council laws. We pay our trade fees. We share our discoveries. We have done everything you asked." "Except stay in your designated zone," said a voice. It came from Councillor Dreth, a being made of crystalline formations. "Your survey ships keep crossing into restricted space. You push boundaries. You ignore warnings. We explore," Sarah said. "That is what humans do. And the restricted zones you mention, they include mineral-rich systems that are unclaimed. We have every right." "You have the rights we give you," Vorthax interrupted. His voice was sharp now. "Remember your place, human. The Council has decided to extend the trade embargo on your species. All human ships are now restricted to within 20 light-years of Earth. Any vessel found beyond that boundary will be seized or destroyed." The chamber erupted with sounds. Clicks, whistles, bursts of color, and telepathic pulses that made the air shimmer. Most were sounds of approval. A few species looked uncomfortable, but they stayed silent. Sarah felt anger rise in her chest like fire. 20 light-years. That would cut off 15 of their newest colonies. Millions of humans would be isolated, their trade routes destroyed. "This is illegal," she said, raising her voice. "Under your own council laws. The laws apply to members," Admiral Korthax said. He stood up, his massive form towering even in the huge chamber. "You are not members. You are guests, temporary visitors, and guests who misbehave get sent home." Laughter came from the Vraxian section. Other species joined in. "Perhaps," Korthax continued, his voice carrying across the chamber, "humanity needs a reminder of their place. My fleet conducts exercises near your space. Maybe we should include your little Earth in our training scenarios." Sarah's blood went cold. That was a direct threat, an act of war barely disguised. "You would attack Earth?" she asked quietly. "Attack? No, Korthax said, showing his teeth in what might be a smile. "We would be conducting military exercises. If your primitive ships got in the way, well, accidents happen in training." More laughter. Even Speaker Vorthax seemed amused. "We have also received reports," Vorthax said, "that humanity is refusing to surrender mining rights in your own star system. The asteroid belt designated Sol AB7 contains rare elements that the galaxy needs. You will grant the Vraxian Empire full mining access immediately." "That's in our home system," Sarah said. "You're demanding we give up resources in our own territory?" "Resources the galaxy needs," Vorthax said. "Resources you are too primitive to properly extract. The Vraxian Empire has the technology and knowledge. You should be grateful they are willing to do the work." Sarah took a deep breath. She had her orders from Earth. She knew what to say next. But part of her wished things could be different. She wished these aliens could have chosen peace instead of threats. "Then I have no choice," Sarah said. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small data pad. She pressed a button and a message flashed. Transmitted. I am formally notifying the Galactic Council that humanity rejects these demands. We will not surrender our mining rights. We will not accept illegal trade restrictions. And we will defend ourselves against any military aggression. The chamber went quiet. Are you threatening the Council? Vorthax asked. He sounded shocked, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. No, Sarah said. Her voice was steady now. I'm delivering a warning. Humanity is done asking for permission. We're done being patient. You've made your choice. Admiral Korthax laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound. A warning? From a species that still uses chemical rockets for half their ships? From apes who only learned to leave their planet 300 years ago? He turned to the Council. I volunteer my fleet to handle this problem. We will teach these humans proper respect. Speaker Vorthax hesitated for just a moment. Sarah saw it. Some part of him wondered if this was wise, but the moment passed. The Council recognizes the Vraxian Empire's right to defend against human aggression, Vorthax said formally. You may proceed with your exercises. If human ships interfere, use appropriate force, Korthax bowed, his scales rippling with satisfaction. My fleet departs within the cycle. We will be at Earth within one of their weeks. Sarah gathered her things. She walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber. At the door, she stopped and looked back. Hundreds of alien eyes watched her. Most looked amused. Some looked bored. A few looked uncomfortable. You should have given us membership, Sarah said quietly. But the chamber's acoustics carried her voice to every corner. You should have treated us as equals. You had 50 years to make the right choice, and is that another threat? Korthax asked, still laughing. Sarah smiled. It was a cold smile without humor. No, Admiral. That's my resignation. I won't be humanity's ambassador anymore. We won't need one. She touched her communication device. Authorization Chen Alpha 7. Confirm message received. A voice came through, tinny and distant. Confirmed, Ambassador. Protocol Hammerfall is now active. All assets are in position. Sarah walked out of the chamber. Behind her, she heard confused muttering. They didn't understand. They thought humans were weak, primitive, helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As the doors closed behind her, Sarah allowed herself one more smile. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space, in the dark between stars, something vast was moving. Something humanity had built in secret. Something the galaxy thought was impossible. The Vraxian fleet would reach Earth in 1 week. They wouldn't survive the first day. The galaxy was about to change forever, and it was already too late for them to stop it. 50 years earlier, the first human ship entered faster-than-light travel. Captain James Rivera remembered the moment the universe changed. His small exploration vessel, the Pioneer, dropped out of FTL near Proxima Centauri and found something waiting. A Caltharian survey ship. First contact. The aliens had been polite but condescending. They brought humans to the Galactic Council. They showed them wonders. And they made it very clear that humanity was at the bottom of the ladder. Captain Rivera, now Admiral Rivera, stood in a secret facility that shouldn't exist. It was built inside a massive asteroid in the Oort cloud, far beyond Neptune, hidden in the dark edge of the solar system. No alien sensors could reach this far. No council inspections ever came here. Show me, Rivera said. The lights came on. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, carved from solid rock and ice, reinforced with materials that didn't exist in nature. And floating in the center, held by gravitational fields, was something that made Rivera's breath catch even after seeing it 100 times. The indomitable will, 15 kilometers long. 5 kilometers wide. A ship so massive that Earth's entire navy could fit inside its hangar bays. Its hull was made of metamaterials that could shift their molecular structure, becoming harder than diamond or flowing like liquid. Gravitational generators created a shield that could bend space itself. Magnetic accelerator cannons ran the length of the ship, each capable of firing projectiles at relativistic speeds. Status report, Rivera said. Dr. Chen, Sarah's older sister, stepped forward. She wore a simple gray uniform with no rank insignia. No one in this facility had official ranks. Officially, none of them existed. The indomitable will is at 97% combat readiness, Dr. Chen said. Final systems tests are complete. The crew of 10,000 is already aboard. The AI network is online and responsive, and the singularity drives are stable. Rivera nodded. Singularity drives. That had been humanity's greatest breakthrough. While aliens used exotic matter and quantum entanglement for FTL, humans had gone a different direction. They created and controlled miniature black holes harnessing their energy. It was dangerous. 3 early prototypes had catastrophically failed, killing everyone aboard. But humanity had perfected it. What about the other ships? Rivera asked. Dr. Chen smiled. The Unconquered Pride is at Neptune shipyard. The Defiant Star is near Saturn. The Iron Justice is hidden in the Kuiper Belt. All 3 are ready. 4 super dreadnoughts. 4 ships that represented 50 years of secret work. 50 years of humanity's best scientists, engineers, and military minds working toward one goal: survival. They think we're primitive, said General Nakamura. He was the ranking military officer, a man who had fought in Earth's last major war before the aliens arrived. They think we gave up war when we met them. Rivera walked to a window overlooking the construction bay. Smaller ships moved around the indomitable will like insects around a whale. Fighter craft, destroyers, missile frigates, all built with technology the Council thought humans didn't have. When we first met the Caltharians, Rivera said, we studied them. Not just their language and culture. We studied how they thought, how they made decisions, how they fought. He pulled up a holographic display. It showed battle records from galactic history. Look at this, Rivera said. The Vraxian Caltharian War 400 years ago. It lasted 6 months. Total casualties? 12,000 across both sides. They fought 3 major battles, each in designated neutral space. They used energy weapons set to specific power levels. They followed rules. Dr. Chen nodded. They haven't experienced total war in over 2,000 years. Their conflicts are ritualized. They have honor codes and engagement protocols. They've forgotten what real war looks like, Nakamura said quietly. They think warfare is a game with rules and boundaries. Rivera closed the display. Humans fought 2 world wars in the 20th century. We killed millions of each other. We created weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We bombed cities. We starved populations. We did things that would horrify the Galactic Council. And then we stopped, Dr. Chen said. We chose peace. We built a unified government. We went to the stars hoping to leave that violence behind. But we didn't forget how. Rivera finished. We can't forget. It's in our history, our culture, our DNA. When we met the galaxy, we hoped we'd never need that knowledge again. He gestured to the massive ship floating before them. But we prepared anyway, he said, because humans learned a lesson the galaxy never had to learn. Hope for peace, but prepare for war. A technician approached. Admiral, we're receiving the signal. Protocol Hammerfall is active. Rivera felt his heart rate increase. This was it. 50 years of waiting. 50 years of hoping they'd never need to use these ships. But the galaxy had made its choice. Brief the crew, Rivera said. Launch in 6 hours. Over the next hours, Rivera walked through the indomitable will. The ship was a city with living quarters, hydroponics bays, medical facilities, and recreation areas. 10,000 crew members, all volunteers, all sworn to secrecy. Some had been living on this ship for years, training and waiting. In the war room, Rivera met with his command staff. The Vraxian fleet will arrive at Earth in 7 days, he said. 300 warships. They expect to find human defenses unprepared. They expect our colony ships and civilian vessels to scatter in fear. Which they will, Nakamura said. All part of the plan. We've already started evacuating non-essential personnel from Mars and Luna. Rivera nodded. The Vraxians will think they've won before the battle even starts. They'll broadcast their victory speech. They'll make their demands, and that's when we strike. He pulled up tactical displays. We'll use the new FTL drives to emerge directly behind their fleet. They won't detect us until we're already in position. The Unconquered Pride will handle any ships that try to escape toward the outer system. The Defiant Star and Iron Justice will eliminate their carrier groups. What about their homeworld? Asked Commander Okonkwo, captain of the Indomitable Will. We'll position the ships to threaten but not attack, Rivera said. We're not conquerors. We're not monsters. We're sending a message. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity won't be pushed around, but we're not here to destroy them. Unless they don't listen, Nakamura said quietly. Rivera met his eyes. Unless they don't listen, he agreed. Dr. Chen spoke up. Admiral, some of the crew are worried. These aliens may be arrogant, but most of them haven't done anything to us personally. Are we sure about this? Rivera was quiet for a moment. For 50 years we asked nicely. We followed their rules. We tried diplomacy. And what did we get? Trade embargoes, movement restrictions, threats to our home world. They were going to attack Earth, kill millions of our people, take our resources. He looked around the room. We gave peace every chance. They chose war. Now we show them what human war looks like. The command staff nodded. 6 hours later, the indomitable will activated its drives. The controlled singularity spun up, bending space around the massive vessel. Reality twisted. The ship didn't move through space, it moved space around itself. In an instant, the ship vanished from the Oort cloud. Admiral Rivera stood on the bridge as stars streaked past. The new FTL system left no wake, no trace. As far as the galaxy knew, humans were still using primitive jump drives. They didn't know about singularity technology. They didn't know about gravitational weapons. They didn't know about combat AI networks. They were about to learn. All ships report ready, Okonkwo said from her command chair. The other 3 dreadnoughts are in position. Excellent, Rivera said. He pulled up a display showing Earth. Beautiful blue and white hanging in the darkness. Worth fighting for, worth protecting. The Vraxian fleet will arrive in 7 days, he said. Let's make sure they regret it. The crew worked in efficient silence. These weren't glory seekers or warmongers. They were people who understood what was at stake. Human freedom. Human survival. Human dignity. The galaxy had tried to cage humanity, to keep them small and controlled. They were about to learn that you can't cage a species that evolved as hunters, that survived ice ages and plagues and wars, that looked at the stars and decided to claim them. The indomitable will and her sisters moved through the darkness, bearing humanity's answer to galactic arrogance. War was coming, and this time it would be fought on human terms. Admiral Korthak stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Vengeance of Vraxia, and felt supremely confident. Behind his ship, 299 other vessels moved in perfect formation. The pride of the Vraxian Empire, the most powerful war fleet in the galaxy, and they were about to crush a species of upstart primates. Exit FTL in 30 seconds, his navigator announced. Korthax adjusted his ceremonial armor. He had prepared a speech for the humans. It would be broadcast across the galaxy, showing every species what happened when you defied the Council. When you defied the Vraxian Empire, the universe twisted. Stars snapped back into normal space. And there, hanging like a blue jewel in the darkness, was Earth. All ships report successful transition, his tactical officer said. No contacts detected. The system appears undefended. Korthax felt disappointed. He had hoped for at least some resistance. A few human ships desperately trying to protect their homeworld, but his sensors showed nothing except civilian traffic fleeing in panic. Mining stations were being abandoned. Cargo ships scattered in every direction. They run like prey animals, Korthax said, amused. His crew laughed. Begin recording. I will deliver the ultimatum. The communication system activated. His message would be broadcast to Earth and simultaneously transmitted to the Galactic Council. Every species would see this moment. Every species would remember. Humans of Earth. Korthax began, his voice deep and commanding. I am Admiral Korthax of the Vraxian Empire. You have violated Council law. You have rejected lawful demands. You have threatened peace and order. Therefore, your species will now submit to Council authority. You will surrender all military vessels. You will grant mining rights to designated systems. You will accept permanent restrictions on your expansion. You have 1 of your hours to comply or— Admiral! His sensor officer shouted. Contact. Massive gravimetric distortion behind the fleet. Korthax spun around. What? Where did it come from? Unknown, sir. It just appeared. No FTL signature, no approach detected. It's just there. On the main display, every sensor in the fleet focused on a single point in space behind them. The readings didn't make sense. The mass signatures were impossible. Whatever had appeared was bigger than his entire fleet combined. Visual, Korthax demanded. The display changed, and Korthax felt fear for the first time in his military career. A ship. No, not a ship. A moving fortress. A floating city. Something so massive that his mind struggled to comprehend its scale. It hung in space like a dark mountain, its hull absorbing light, making it look like a hole in space itself. Size estimate, he whispered. 15 kilometers in length. Admiral, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. 5 kilometers beam. Mass readings are— they're off the scale. That thing has its own significant gravitational field. Korthax stared. Impossible, humans were primitive. They used chemical rockets. They barely understood FTL technology. They couldn't build something like this. They couldn't. Multiple launches from the human vessel. His tactical officer screamed. Incoming. The indomitable will fired. The magnetic accelerator cannons had been charging since the moment the ship dropped out of FTL. Now they released their fury. Projectiles made of compressed matter, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, crossed the distance between ships in heartbeats. The first projectile hit the Vraxian heavy cruiser Dominator. The kinetic energy was so enormous that the ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, converted into a cloud of superheated plasma in microseconds. The second, third, and fourth projectiles struck in rapid succession. More ships vanished. The Vraxian fleet's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. It was like trying to stop a bullet with a light bulb. Return fire, Korthax roared. All ships engage! The Vraxian fleet responded. Energy weapons capable of vaporizing asteroids lanced through space. Plasma torpedoes launched by the hundreds. Missiles that could crack planets streaked toward the massive human ship and did nothing. Space itself bent around the indomitable will. The gravitational shields caught energy weapons and redirected them harmlessly into the void. Missiles detonated against barriers they couldn't penetrate. The few projectiles that got through struck armor that flowed like liquid, absorbing impacts that should have torn through any hull. Impossible, Korthax's tactical officer said. Their shields shouldn't exist. That technology has been proven theoretically impossible. Another salvo from the indomitable will. 7 more Vraxian ships died. The human vessel wasn't even moving. It hung in space, methodically destroying targets with mechanical precision. Launch fighters, Korthax ordered. Swarm them. Overwhelm their defenses. Thousands of Vraxian fighter craft poured from carrier ships. They had numerical superiority. They had speed and maneuverability. The indomitable will opened its hangar bays. What emerged made Korthax's blood run cold. Not fighters, not piloted craft, swarms of small, fast-moving drones. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They moved with perfect coordination, each one making decisions faster than any living pilot could think. Artificial intelligence. The kind that was banned by galactic law because it made warfare too efficient, too deadly. The humans had built AI war machines. The drones tore through Vraxian fighters like predators through prey. They moved in patterns no living being could follow, anticipating every maneuver, coordinating attacks with millisecond precision. Energy weapons and micro-missiles eliminated targets before pilots even knew they were in danger. In less than 3 minutes, the entire Vraxian fighter wing was destroyed. Status report. Korthax demanded. We've lost 70 ships, his tactical officer said. His scales had gone pale. The rest are taking damage. Our weapons aren't penetrating their shields. Admiral, we need to retreat. Korthax wanted to argue, wanted to rally his fleet. But he was a warrior, not a fool. This wasn't a battle. It was an execution. All ships, emergency FTL jump, scatter pattern, maximum dispersal. The fleet began to execute emergency jumps. Ships vanished in random directions, hoping to escape the killing zone. But the human drones pursued. They attached to hulls and detonated. They targeted engines. They were everywhere. Get us out of here, Korthax ordered. His ship's FTL drive powered up. Reality began to twist. They would survive. They would warn the galaxy. They would. A transmission came through on all frequencies. A human voice, female, calm and controlled. Attention, Vraxian fleet. This is Captain Maria Okonkwo of the Terran Navy vessel Indomitable Will. You came to attack our homeworld. You came to threaten our families. You came expecting an easy victory. On the display, Korthax saw another massive ship appear near Jupiter, then another near Mars, then a fourth near Venus. 4 impossibly huge vessels, 4 super dreadnoughts. The humans had built 4 of them. You were wrong, Captain Okonkwo continued. Let me be very clear about what happens next. We're going to let some of you escape. We need you to carry a message to the Galactic Council. Are you listening, Admiral Korthax? Korthax couldn't speak. His ship was nearly ready to jump. Around him, the rest of his fleet was dying or fleeing. Here's the message, Captain Okonkwo said. Her voice was cold enough to freeze stars. For 50 years, humanity asked nicely. We followed your rules. We tried to be good guests. You responded with contempt, restrictions, and threats, so we've decided to stop asking permission. The galaxy wanted to see what humans could do when pushed. Watch and learn. Another volley of magnetic accelerator fire. 20 more Vraxian ships exploded. You've called us primitive. You've mocked our ships and our technology. You've treated us like children who needed to be disciplined. Okonkwo paused. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was assuming we weren't listening. We studied you. We learned from you. And we prepared for this exact moment. Korthax's ship jumped into FTL. The universe twisted and suddenly they were light years away from Earth. His sensors showed only 37 ships had escaped. 37 out of 300. The greatest military disaster in Vraxian history. Your third mistake, Okonkwo's voice followed them through FTL, recorded and transmitted on all frequencies, was forgetting what species like humanity had to do to survive. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us. We survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and each other. We learned to make war so terrible that we nearly destroyed ourselves. We chose peace, but we never forgot the lessons. The message reached the Galactic Council chambers. It reached every species in known space, and with it came tactical data from the battle, videos of Vraxian ships being destroyed, sensor readings of the 4 human super dreadnoughts, evidence of technology that shouldn't exist. The Council wanted to keep humanity small and controlled, Okonkwo's voice said. You wanted to make sure we never became a threat. But you made a fundamental error. You judged us by your own standards. You thought 300 years in space made us children. You forgot that 300 years is enough time for humans to go from wooden ships to spaceflight. Enough time to split the atom, map the genome, and create artificial intelligence. Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as primitive fell silent. You gave us 50 years. We spent every single day of those years preparing for war we hoped would never come, but you forced our hand. You threatened Earth, so now the galaxy will learn a new lesson. The transmission. The Galactic Council emergency session began in chaos and descended into panic. Speaker Vorthan tried to maintain order, but his forearms waved frantically as hundreds of delegates shouted, clicked, whistled, and projected emotions of fear. The massive chamber that usually conveyed dignity and ancient authority now felt like a cage full of frightened animals. Order. We must have order. Vorthan's amplified voice barely cut through the noise. On the central display, the battle footage played on repeat. The Vraxian fleet, pride of the galaxy's strongest military, being systematically destroyed in 8 minutes. The massive human ships appearing from nowhere, technology that violated known physical laws. Weapons that made galactic standard defenses look like toys. Admiral Korthax stood before the council, his scales still pale from shock. They were waiting for us, he said, his voice hoarse. It was a trap. They let us come. They let us feel confident. Then they appeared and slaughtered us. How many ships did you lose? Asked Councillor Dreth. 263, Korthax said. Each word seemed to pain him. Destroyed completely. No survivors. 37 escaped. A fleet of 300 reduced to a fraction in minutes. The council chamber went silent. 263 warships. Each one representing decades of construction and millions of credits. Each crewed by hundreds of Vraxians. All gone. The humans have 4 of those super ships, someone said. What if there are more? Before anyone could answer, all the displays went dark. The council's communication systems activated without authorization. And a face appeared on every screen. Sarah Chen, former human ambassador. She looked different now. She wore a military uniform. Her expression was hard. Greetings, Galactic Council, she said. I wanted to inform you of some developments. In the last hour, humanity has repositioned assets. I thought you'd like to know where. A star map appeared. The council members leaned forward, dreading what they would see. Red markers appeared at 4 locations. One near Earth, obviously, but the other 3 made several delegates gasp. The Vraxian homeworld, Council Station, and the Galactic Trade Hub. As you can see, Sarah continued, humanity now has a super dreadnought positioned at each of your most strategic locations. The unconquered Pride is currently in orbit around Vraxia Prime. I believe you'll find their planetary defense grid is no longer functioning. Another display showed Vraxian space. Their orbital weapons platforms, hundreds of them, built over centuries, were dark and drifting, disabled without a single shot being fired. How? Korthax whispered. Those platforms were hardened against every known attack. Against every known attack, Sarah agreed. Humans are very good at finding new ways to do things. But don't worry. We disabled them, not destroyed them. They can be repaired. Assuming you give us reason to allow that. Councillor Dreth's crystalline form flickered with agitation. This is an act of war. You've violated sovereign space. Threatened council installations. War? Sarah's expression hardened. You sent a fleet to attack Earth. You threatened to destroy our homeworld. You imposed illegal embargoes. And you have the audacity to call our response an act of war? Vorthan raised his hands. Ambassador Chen, please. Let us discuss this calmly. Violence serves no one. I'm not an ambassador anymore, Sarah said. And we're past discussion. We spent 50 years discussing. You spent 50 years ignoring us. So now we're dictating terms. Are you ready to hear them? The council looked at each other. What choice did they have? Human super dreadnoughts could attack at any moment. They had technology that shouldn't exist. They had already proven they could destroy fleets and disable planetary defenses. Speak, Vorthan said quietly. Sarah pulled up a document. First, all trade embargoes against humanity are lifted immediately. All movement restrictions are cancelled. Humans have free passage through all council space. That's reasonable, someone muttered. Second, humanity receives full council membership with veto power over military actions. No species may threaten or attack human space without unanimous council approval, which will include humanity's vote. The council stirred. Veto power? For a species that had been spacefaring for only 50 years? That's unprecedented, Vorthan said. So is building 4 super dreadnoughts in secret, Sarah replied. Third, the Vraxian Empire will pay reparations for their attack on human space. Amount to be determined, but it will include compensation for resources spent defending ourselves. Korthax's scales flushed with anger, but he said nothing. What could he say? Fourth, any species that has harmed human civilians over the past 50 years will face war crime tribunals. Human legal experts will assist in identifying and prosecuting offenders. And if we refuse these terms? Dreth asked. Sarah's smile was cold. Let me show you something. The display changed. It showed a strange weapon test. A missile launching from a human ship. But when it detonated, space itself seemed to break. Cracks of light spread through the void. Ships caught in the effect simply vanished, not destroyed, but gone as if they had never existed. This is a subspace fracture weapon, Sarah explained. We call it a reality ripper. It creates catastrophic tears in the fabric of space-time. If we wanted to, we could deploy these weapons in major hyperspace lanes. We could collapse FTL travel across entire sectors of the galaxy. Trade would stop. Communication would stop. Your entire civilization depends on FTL travel. Imagine losing it. The council chamber was deathly silent. We won't use these weapons, Sarah said, unless you force us to. Humanity doesn't want to be conquerors. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to live our lives and explore space freely. Is that really too much to ask? Over the next hours, the council debated. Some species wanted to fight. The Vraxians, despite their defeat, spoke of honor and revenge. A few warrior cultures agreed, but others were more practical. The Caltharians ran calculations. The Mytharian collective did probability analyses. The crystal beings consulted their ancient databases. Every analysis reached the same conclusion. Humanity couldn't be defeated with current galactic technology. At best, the galaxy might achieve a stalemate after years of devastating war. At worst, humans would systematically destroy everything. And then intelligence reports came in that changed everything. We've detected 8 more construction facilities, a Caltharian intelligence officer reported, hidden throughout human space. Asteroid bases like the one where they built the first 4 ships. Some are still building, we estimate. He paused, checking his data. We estimate humanity may have as many as 16 super dreadnoughts within 5 years. Maybe more, 16. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. How? Someone asked. How did they hide this from us? We weren't looking, the officer admitted. We thought they were primitive. We didn't believe they could challenge us, so we didn't monitor them seriously. And they were very, very careful. Every suspicious activity had a cover story. Every secret shipyard was disguised as a mining operation or research station. They planned this from the beginning, Vorthon said slowly. From the moment they met us, they were preparing for war. Can you blame them? An unexpected voice asked. It came from one of the younger species, the Delphians, who had only been on the council for 1,000 years. We treated them terribly. We restricted them, mocked them, threatened them. What did we expect? That they'd just accept it forever? They're dangerous, Korthax argued. Today they threaten us. Tomorrow they'll conquer us. We threatened them first, the Delphian delegate said. You literally took a fleet to their homeworld to attack them. They defended themselves. How is that wrong? The debate raged for hours. But slowly, reluctantly, the council came to a consensus. They would vote on humanity's demands, the vote was called. 847 species in favor of accepting human terms. 3 against. Then something strange happened. The 3 opposing votes requested a recess. Private meetings were held. And when the council reconvened an hour later, all 3 changed their votes to yes. Rumors spread quickly. The 3 delegates had received visitors. Not official human ambassadors, just quiet individuals who had polite conversations about how vulnerable their homeworlds were, about how easy it would be for accidents to happen, about how humanity really truly hoped they could all be friends. The vote was now unanimous. Sarah Chen appeared on the displays again. The Galactic Council has voted to accept our terms. Humanity thanks you for your wisdom. We look forward to working with you as equals. She paused. And to those who changed their votes, we appreciate your reconsideration. The super dreadnoughts remained at their positions for 3 more days. A reminder, a promise, a threat. Then they vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared, leaving behind a galaxy that would never look at humanity the same way again. In bars and meeting halls across thousands of worlds, the story spread. The upstart apes, the primitive species, the ones everyone had dismissed. They had broken every rule, challenged every assumption, and won. The galaxy had tried to keep humanity in a cage. They had just learned that you don't cage apex predators. You either respect them, 6 months after the Battle of Earth, Sarah Chen stood in the council chamber again. But everything was different now. The seat she occupied was no longer in the observer section. Humanity had a full delegation now, positioned among the senior members. Their section was modest, just 5 seats. But those 5 seats carried more weight than delegations 10 times their size. Because everyone remembered what happened when you ignored humanity. The council was voting on a new trade agreement. Something routine that would have taken weeks of debate in the old days. But when the human delegation indicated their support, the measure passed in minutes. No one wanted to argue with the species that had 4 super dreadnoughts hovering at strategic points throughout the galaxy. After the session, Sarah walked through the station's public areas. Aliens stepped aside to let her pass. Not out of fear exactly, though some fear was there. More out of respect, or maybe caution. A young Delphian approached her, moving with the graceful motions of its species. Ambassador Chen, may I speak with you? Sarah smiled. Of course. I wanted to thank you, the Delphian said. My species has been advocating for council reforms for centuries. The senior species always blocked us. But now, with humanity's support, we're finally seeing change. Trade routes that were closed to us are opening. We have access to technologies that were restricted before. The council needed new perspectives, Sarah said diplomatically. We're happy to help. What she didn't say was that humanity had carefully chosen which younger species to support. The ones who had been suppressed by the old guard. The ones hungry for change? Building alliances wasn't just about military power. It was about making friends with those who shared your vision. The Vraxian Empire was learning that lesson the hard way. Their government had collapsed 3 weeks after the battle. The military leadership that had pushed for attacking Earth was overthrown. A new civilian government had taken power, led by Vraxians who wanted reform and peace. Humanity had quietly supported them with intelligence, resources, and diplomatic backing. Admiral Korthax was in prison, awaiting trial for war crimes. Not by human courts, but by his own people. The new Vraxian government wanted to make it clear that the old ways were finished. Sarah's communication device buzzed. A message from Earth. She found a private area and opened it. It was from Admiral Rivera. Sarah, we need to talk. Something's happened. Check the attached file. Priority Alpha. Sarah's heart sank. Priority Alpha meant immediate threat. She opened the file. It was a sensor recording from the edge of the galaxy. Beyond the rim, in the dark space between galaxies, something was moving. Multiple somethings. Large objects, maybe ships heading toward the galactic core. The readings were fragmentary and unclear, but the computers estimated arrival time at 6 months. She read the intelligence assessment attached to the file. It was compiled from ancient galactic records that humanity had accessed after gaining Council membership. Records that most species had forgotten about. Thousands of years ago, something had attacked from beyond the rim. The ancient species fought it off, but at terrible cost. They had built the Galactic Council partly as a defense pact, a way to coordinate against external threats. But over time, as the threat never returned, the Council had become political, bureaucratic, soft, and now the threat was coming back. Sarah contacted Rivera immediately. His holographic image appeared, looking tired. "Have you told the Council?" Sarah asked. "Not yet," Rivera said. "We wanted to confirm the readings first. But Sarah, if this is what we think it is, the galaxy isn't ready. The Council species have been fighting ritualized wars for so long, they've forgotten what real combat looks like." "But we haven't," Sarah said quietly. "No, we haven't." They talked for another hour, discussing options and strategies. Then Sarah made her way back to the Council chamber. An emergency session had been called. The Council had finally detected the approaching objects. The chamber was in turmoil when Sarah arrived. Species shouted at each other, blame flying in all directions. Some claimed it was a sensor error. Others insisted it was a hoax. A few remembered the ancient records and looked terrified. Sarah walked to the human delegations section and activated the speaking system. Her voice cut through the chaos. "The Galactic Council will come to order." Something in her tone made everyone stop. Maybe it was confidence. Maybe it was authority. Or maybe it was the reminder that humanity had military power that dwarfed anything else in the galaxy. "The threat is real," Sarah said. "Our long-range sensors have confirmed it. Unknown vessels approaching from beyond the rim. We estimate 6 months until they reach inhabited space. We don't know if they're hostile, but given the historical records, we should prepare for the worst." "What do you suggest?" Forthan asked. He looked older than he had 6 months ago. "We need to unify the galactic defense," Sarah said. "One fleet, one command structure, one strategy. No more individual species protecting their own territory. We face this together or we fall separately." "And who would command this unified fleet?" asked a Vraxian delegate. "The new government's representative, not one of the old military hardliners." Sarah took a breath. "We propose Captain Maria Okonkwo of the Terran Navy. She commanded the Indomitable Will during the Battle of Earth. She has combat, experience and strategic knowledge that most of the galaxy lacks." The chamber erupted again. A human in charge of galactic defense? It was unthinkable, unprecedented, outrageous. But also, several delegates thought privately, probably necessary. The Council debated for 3 days. Humanity made their case carefully. They shared tactical data. They offered to share defensive technology, though not the most advanced systems. They promised to station their super dreadnoughts at critical defensive positions, and they pointed out the obvious truth. When the threat arrived, who did the galaxy want leading the defense? Commanders who had only fought ritualized battles? Or the species that had perfected the art of total war? The vote wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. Captain Okonkwo would become Grand Admiral of the Galactic Defense Fleet. She would have authority to coordinate all military assets across Council, space. Humanity would share some of its weapons, technology with other species, enough to make them effective allies. Training programs would begin immediately. The galaxy was going to learn how humans made war. 3 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Council Station and watched the defense preparations. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species moved in coordinated patterns, training together, learning human tactics. The Indomitable Will hung in the center like a protective guardian, its massive bulk dwarfing everything around it. Admiral Rivera joined her. He had come to Council Station to help coordinate the defense. "We're making progress," he said. "The alien crews are learning fast. Some of them are actually very good once they understand the concepts." "Will it be enough?" Sarah asked. Rivera was quiet for a moment. "I don't know. We're preparing for war against an enemy we know nothing about. But at least we're preparing. That's more than the galaxy was doing 6 months ago. Do you ever regret it? Sarah asked. Building the Dreadnoughts. Starting the war. Every day, Rivera admitted. So many died. Vraxians mostly. But blood is blood. But I also know what would have happened if we hadn't prepared. The Council would have kept restricting us, pushing us down. Maybe eventually deciding we were too dangerous to exist. And now with this new threat, the galaxy would have faced it unprepared and probably lost. Sarah nodded. We did what we had to do. Doesn't make it easier, Rivera said. A message came through to both of them. Admiral Okonkwo was requesting their presence on the Indomitable Will. They took a shuttle over, marveling as always at the sheer size of the ship. Okonkwo met them on the bridge. She looked comfortable in her new role, confident without being arrogant. Behind her, the bridge crew worked efficiently, a mix of humans and aliens now. Training the alien observers was part of building trust. We've gotten better readings on the approaching vessels, Okonkwo said, pulling up a display. I wanted you to see this before I briefed the Council. The display showed enhanced sensor data. The objects were definitely ships. Large ones. And there were hundreds of them, possibly thousands. Coming straight for the Galactic Core. Can we fight them? Sarah asked. Okonkwo smiled grimly. We're human. We can fight anything. Whether we can win? That's a different question. Rivera studied the tactical display. We'll position the super dreadnoughts at choke points. Use the alien fleets to harass and delay. Draw them into defensive positions where we have advantage. Standard human strategy. Adapt it for space warfare on a galactic scale. And if that doesn't work? Sarah asked. Then we show them what desperation looks like, Okonkwo said. Humanity's greatest weapon has always been our refusal to give up. We survived ice ages with stone tools. We survived plagues that killed half our population. We built civilization in the ruins of our own wars. Whatever's coming, they're about to learn that humans don't quit. Sarah looked out at the assembled fleet. Ships from 100 species united for the first time in galactic history. United because humanity had forced them to change, to adapt, to remember what cooperation really meant.